All right, this, like I said, is meeting number 3. Let me go ahead and hide this. For class of 25. It's amazing. I'm handling 25 right now. You all are 11th grade parents, soon to be 12th. So you're rising 12th. And I'm also handling the 12th going to college. This is that funny month where you're doing both. Actually, for 2 months, they'll be going on. And that's a good thing because a lot of what I learned from that group, things have changed so much. That was on the top of my mind as I advise you what's going to happen next year. Subject coverage today is very simple. How students will spend the summer. I'm super interested in that. You'll see why. And I think it's something we should all give some careful thought to how our youth are going to spend the summer. Because how they spend that summer will have a big impact on what they will experience and see, but also how much time they have to actually work on college applications. How rising 12th graders should be preparing for, I didn't say it right, should be preparing for affordable college. And how they should spend the summer. I didn't word that right. How we can help you in financial aid preparation. All right, let's talk about how students typically spend summers in your house. And there's some kind of house normality to this. Vacations, visiting relatives out of town. I was getting ready to help a student with their colleges just recently, and we realized they'll be gone the whole summer. Sometimes it's relatives, vacations, sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's the other parent because there's a separation or a divorce. It could be a lot of different things, but they could be out of town all summer. In that case, that means they're working on applications in the fall. No, it never works out to bring it with them on vacation or do that. We've worked with students for years. It just does not work. We'll have more to say about that later. College classes and college experiences out of town. A lot of you are sending your students away to be sometimes overseas, right? Or to a college campus experience, to have experience of being on a campus. You've already spent money for that, and sometimes it's paid for, whatever, but there's college classes and college experiences out of town. They could be working full-time or part-time, including internships. Of course, full-time is more of an issue. I've had cases where students are working 40 and 50 hours a week. So clearly, their ability to do applications or prepare for the SAT or some of the things we'll talk about in a minute is greatly impaired. Once again, if there are questions, put them in the chat or raise your hand. In some cases, you just speak right out. I can hear you. Summer sports is a big factor. School and club sports are a major factor. Performance and visual arts programs. Yeah, that's a big one too. There's some kind of production in the summer. That could take 40, 50 hours a week to prepare for that production. Or for that visual art or whatever they're doing, maybe in some summer program or whatever. Entrepreneurship programs are huge now. There's like 5 or 6 big ones in the city here where students could be spending 6, 7, 8 weeks this summer doing that. And that's something that you plan for them, but that's okay. That's a meaningful involvement. But realistically, it's going to cut down on their amount of time to do college applications and to do some of the other things I'm going to remind you about that need to be considered. Summer school, you might have seen a video I did on that earlier this year, by the way. Summer school or making up classes or getting ahead in class. When could you note that should be over there? I'm going to correct all that stuff and repost that on my drive. Making up classes or getting ahead in class, like you want to get ahead in a math class or whatever. These are things happening in the summer. And you might think, well, they can handle it. They can, put it right on top. What if they're writing? What if they're an average to good writer, but not a great writer? So that's nothing wrong with being average to good. That can improve before they go to college. But as far as doing applications, that will be an issue. If they're a really good writer, I've seen really excellent writers, they're just very busy with some of these or all many of these activities actually. Yeah, two to three of these can adversely affect summer application preparations. Brianna, would you agree with this? This is Brianna Bennett. This is my #1 college support person. Brianna, what do you think about that? You want to comment on this slide?
Yes, I definitely do. From my experience, just working with students like last summer and the prior summer, when they're really busy, like during the summertime, it's really hard to get a hold of them, especially with the activities and making sure that they're writing their essays on time. So I definitely agree that notice that a lot of students get really busy in the summer. And also, I've spoken to other people that work in our field with college admissions, and they agree, like around the nation, that there's people that students are super busy during the summer, and it's really hard for them to focus in on their college preparation process.
Yeah, I might add, parents, that it seems to be more of an issue this year coming out of the pandemic than I've ever seen. And I've been doing this, going on 25 years. And I have a lot of theories about that, but that's not important. But just be aware of that, This is something that's that I'm going to ask you about if I'm going to help them. Not saying I won't help them, but I certainly will factor it into the schedule for delivering applications. Because parents usually want to see applications go out as soon as they can. I want everything done in the summer, but if they're busy, let's not drive them crazy. So I won't turn it down, but I just want to point out why I'm offering the plan or schedule that I offer. And there you go. All right, here are things that I think should happen in this summer. For all students, I think strengthen their math and writing skills. There never seems to be time for that, strengthening the math and writing skills. We have a lot more to say about math in just a minute, but I think strengthening math and writing skills is important. Now, how do you strengthen it? Well, one way is, and writing, is a 2-year college class. Or there's ways you can enrich their math and writing or writing. I'll talk about that too. I probably should have had here foreign language too, like Spanish. The summer's a great time to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about that in a minute, a way I'm going to suggest for you to think about it. 2-year college classes, I mentioned. Part-time work. Complete the common application essay draft. Most students should go ahead and do that if they're 3.0 or above. Maybe even if they're close to 3.0, I'll tell you why later. It's optional depending on the 3-year GPA, though. Okay? The GPA is, below 3.0, and maybe 2.8 or below. Maybe there's no need to worry about that draft, and that creates, more time for the student. Most schools in the United States do not require essays. Parents are usually shocked to hear that. But of course, selective private colleges most private colleges do require an essay. Many state schools do, not all state schools. The fall, you just do your application of FAFSA deliveries in the fall. These students are busy in the summer, that's okay, especially if they don't have a lot of, essays and things like that. So all students, I think this is a fair list. How about high GPA students? I think strengthening math and writing skills is still something you want to do. 2-year college is something to consider. Part-time work is optional. Notice I didn't put full-time there because I suspect that a high GPA student is going to be plenty busy with other things or you want them to start on their applications. Complete common application essay draft. Optional depending on 3-year GPA, but I already said it's high, right? If applicable, complete the 4 UC essays, PIQs, because most, 80% of my students that are going to apply to selective private college are going to apply to UC also. But not all, that's for sure. We'll talk about UC separately. I'm going to set aside a time in a future meeting to really talk about UC. I've already covered CSU in detail in the earlier session. I have a few words to say about it today. Fall, you're going to have application and FAFSA delivery. It's going to be where the applications are actually delivered. We hope the essays will be delivered, be done in the summer. We hope that's going to be the way to do it because they have a high GPA. You're gonna have a lot of schools on the list. How many should you have? We'll talk about that later. Here's some summer programs that I think should be of interest to my rising 12th graders. They're all summer programs we have. For the 8th straight year, we have the CSU Summer Algebra Institute. It's a 6-week program, Mondays through Thursdays. For a 12th grader, it's an hour and a half. That's actually, I think that program may only be Tuesday through Thursday. I have to check that. The 24th to August 1st, June 24th to August 1st, there's a Lakewood site availability. They can register here. Now, I mentioned that for all grade levels. I mean, because I think 12th graders, realistically, they're only going to be taking one of the courses, maybe Algebra 2 prep. They can strengthen their math skills by taking an online prep class or advanced math or pre-calculus. I'm actually the teacher. I've taught it now for 4 straight years. Would love to work with your student to help them get a B or A in pre-calc, get through that first semester. They've not had a math class like pre-calc. I tell you, it's very different. If you have them taking that, you should definitely prepare them to see it. Same for calculus. If we can find 3 students that want to do it, I'll be glad to do a calculus prep workshop right before they start school. I'll be glad to do that. It will prepare them. Just email me or get a hold of me and let me know. We'll talk about the CSU Summer Algebra Institute. Also, we have STEM projects and field trips that are in person for those students taking the online class. Local college tours, we now know CSU Long Beach and LMU will be, but there's one other one I'm contemplating right now. We have some great parent information sessions that will be exclusive to some of which, well, I guess 1 or 2 of them, probably 2, will be exclusive to parents who are in the Summer Algebra Institute. And it's not that hard to get in it. It's $45 for all 6 weeks. Since it is a grant program, just offsetting some of the document costs. So that's one thing they could do at rising 12th grader to strengthen their skills. Individual application support is another program we're offering. Oh, by the way, hey, Quinn, are you there? Quinn? Oh, Quinn. Okay. Essay development assistance, essay review, and final essay editing. Brianna, do you hear me?
Hey, I'm right here.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I hear you.
Pay close attention, Quinn. Okay, I need at one time we were doing a flyer for this, weren't we? Weren't we doing
Yeah.
individual application support? We still considering that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to, I thought you did that. I thought I saw that flyer.
No, not for this one.
We talked about it, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. I didn't want to schedule it. Well, I think we should think about it now. It will help parents. Anyway, we do essay development assistance, essay review, and final essay editing. Application delivery planning, we also do. We update the college list and we maintain it for the student, for the parent. This is part of our application support. We do application account setup assistance. And then, of course, we do the CSU application submittal. Yeah, we put it together and deliver it because we don't think it's user friendly. This is all done under the individual application support. We'll customize the price to fit. We're super low, super affordable. We're the answer to that $3,000 to $8,000 consultant you're thinking about. Do not do that. We're way lower. We're sometimes 20 times lower than the $3,000 consultant. Okay, it was because we've studied and we're experienced and we're subsidized by West Angeles. So I really want to see you consider using us for your application support. There's other reasons too that maybe I'll talk about as we get to it. FAFSA planning and delivery. This year we delivered close to 100 FAFSAs. And this is the new FAFSA that was very difficult for a lot of families. A lot of people never really got it submitted. We do that here. We can, if we're doing an individual application support, do this. We can do any of this stuff kind of a la carte too, if you just want us to do it for you on a one-time basis. And most people don't end up paying for the FAFSA support. Okay. Cost is low compared to consultants. I said it again. It varies depending on the college list, but it is very low. In fact, the reason we even do this is our bishop, Well, Bishop Blake once got a hold of me after he read an article about people paying a lot of money for college consultants and said, I hope we're doing this. And that's when I started doing it officially about 10 years ago. Let's see. This should say digital SAT prep. Under our individual application support, I have it, but really it's SAT prep for the August test. This is another correction area quit. The test is Saturday, August 24th. It's best for higher GPA students. It helps with college cost plus admission in some cases. I can clarify if anybody has a question there. We will carry 10 students in that class. It'll be in person plus online, and spots do remain for it. The cost is going to be $140 to $260 per month, depending on many factors. Just get a hold of us. We'll be glad to help you with that. Here's additional ways that we can help. We have, I don't know, is Eric in here yet? Eric's not here, is he? Eric Moore? Anybody see him in there? I'll talk about it if he's not here. He said he's going to try to make it. All right, we have Life Prep Academy, our partner, Eric Moore. He's the founder. He will present at one of our SII parent nights. He'll give you free access, free subscription for 1 year to his site. And his site is an unbelievable resource. That's a way we can help. College tour planning and consultation. If you're planning a tour of a college, we can advise you on how best to accomplish it. We'll have a limited college tour plan for the fall. We just don't have it out yet. Our website is another way we can help, www.westa-eep.org. YouTube, you can subscribe, and Facebook us. There's the information there. You just Google the program in each case and you'll find it. By the way, you can get to our YouTube from our website. If you go to the website, look in the upper left corner, you'll see a YouTube symbol and a Facebook symbol, and even the Twitter symbol, but I listed Twitter here. On Twitter, you can get a hold of me or see what I'm talking about. You should follow me. I talk about a lot of educational issues that will help parents. I just can't do all that here in meetings because there's so much information. Which reminds me, they're going to be always, every time after a meeting, some complimentary videos that will come out or that Bailey will email you that are earlier videos we did that go with today. So I'm going to be getting with Bailey to do that for you. She's in here watching right now. You'll remind me, Bailey, right? That'd be a great thing to do. You can also always email me at holythinkers@gmail.com. All right, let's hit the process overview that we covered before. Hopefully you'll have a data-driven college list, meaning that not just colleges that are on there because you heard things about the school or a relative went to the school, or, you want some data that drives you to a college. What kind of data would that be? It would be the GPA and SAT scores of your student, in some cases SAT. It will be what kind of career they're interested in. This is data, right? Not major, career. It could be a lot of things. Like, for example, some students have told me in meetings, I don't want to leave Southern California. That's an important piece of data and will drive the list. So you want a data-driven college list, and have some reason things are on there. Let me tell you something that's not data. To say, well, if they have my major, that's a school I'm looking at. You haven't really narrowed it down much. That's not considered to be data, but it's interesting, and you can have colleges like that on your list. It's just that I think you should have some that are on there because the data indicates that it'll be affordable. The data indicates that it's admissible. That's what gives you a balanced list. All right, so we have out-of-state public universities, the CSUs, California State Universities. I'll call them CSUs from now on. There's 23 of them. Early action private colleges, right? Notice I have a $sign. There's certain private colleges we all know. If you apply early, you have the best chance for money. If I'm working with your student, working with your family, I'm going to make sure that any school they want that's like that, they apply early to. Some people think just every school, you just apply early to everything. Well, that's the best way to be driven crazy. I think you want to have only about 3 schools that are early action. I'll have more to say about that later. And Protestant Christian colleges are going to be done. That's a separate category. Universities of California, UCs, are a category. And regular period private colleges. are all part of the categorization for the colleges. Well, there are going to be application acceptances. You're going to have a FOFSA submittal, financial aid awards, and you're going to decide what school's award is the best. And that's where you do your college trade-offs. You decide what college to go to. Now, in the brown boxes, that's how we categorize colleges here on our program. We don't just go, private, public, whatever. We categorize them like this because in those brown boxes are the ones that have the most, typically the same type of admissions processes, typically the same types of money, things like that. Here's another look at the same list, but this time we're going to look at when the applications are available. Typically, out-of-state public universities in the West, mostly, are available September 15th. CSUs are going to be October 1st to 31st. That doesn't mean you have to submit it then. The deadline for a lot of CSUs is November 30th. Certainly not all of them. Early action is pretty much universal. Most of them are November 1st, some are November 15th. There are some schools I think you should apply to early if you want to get merit money, the most merit money you can get anyway. But in others, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be determined by the income of the parent, and that's the way it goes. University of California can't even submit it till November 1st. So a lot of times people think that they work on UCs quickly, they can submit it earlier. And in general, people think that they submit earlier, there's a better chance of getting in. Not at all. Colleges don't even start their review at private schools till after their deadline. That's actually a potential Title IV issue, federal violation if they start them inconsistently or early, and it's not early action. So most schools are not going to do that, but typically people think if they deliver it earlier, it's going to have better chance of getting in. Or they'll just say that you just want to get it out of the way, and that's probably a more compelling reason, but no need to rush an application before it's high quality. Regular period private colleges are typically done in the month of December. Some can carry over to January, they're not even due till February, believe it or not. There's lots of schools that aren't due till February. But I highly advise you to finish, to get it so that in your house, the applications are complete by Christmas, and okay, you can go over to New Year's maybe. Okay, this is a typical schedule for delivering college applications. So we're not that far away from it. These last three categories are the ones that have essays. So CSUs and most out-of-state public universities do not have an essay. Now that I said that, there are a few that do. Okay, there's some very selective public universities that do have essays and pretty elaborate essays. Take a school like University of North Carolina. They have a pretty elaborate. University of Virginia. All of those ACC schools have pretty elaborate college applications. By the way, the better the sports programs, the more selective the school is. One-on-one youth support is what we do in the summer. We want to help your student one-on-one. We can handle up to 20 students, we think, comfortably. We can do them in small groups. I plan on doing meetings like that in Lakewood, as a matter of fact, for small groups of students. And then, of course, we can help with application delivery support. Okay? So that's where we come in the blue spots there in helping with this admission plan. Let me know if there's any questions out there, Glenn or Brianna or anybody out there, okay? Why
Not
every
yet.
student, okay, great. Why every student who is 3.0 to 3.3 or below should not predominantly apply to select a private college. And you could have a couple on your list. Somebody said maybe there'll be a miracle. And we just can get in. Of course, there'll be a problem with funding usually. But I think 3.0 to 3.3, every student in there should not be applying to, USC, NYU, Vanderbilt, whatever, what I always forget, USC. I already said USC, sorry about that. You get the picture, right? Georgetown, these are all very selective private college. Rice University, Ivy League, you get the idea? So every student shouldn't do that. In fact, if you do it, just take a shot. Don't make those schools dominate your list. First of all, this includes HBCUs, which are mostly private colleges. I want to see students above 3.3 because of money. Because listen closely, listen very closely. HBCUs do not give institutional financial aid grants. HBCUs, and for that matter, state Black colleges, do not give any institutional grants. They only do merit awards. So keep that in mind. I treat them just like every other private school. Unless $100,000 to $300,000 for 4 years is okay for you, that's when you would go ahead and do the applications and let them dominate the list from 3.0 to 3.3. I see that every year. GPAs are 3.2, and they're 15 or 20 very selective colleges. I feel so bad when I see that. I almost don't know what to say. I try to get a couple on the list that are affordable and that are admissible, and those end up being the schools they go to a lot of times. So that means you're going to have a lot of work that doesn't need to be done. I'll talk about that in a minute. This also applies to nearly all out-of-state public universities. Nevertheless, we hear University of Arizona, Arizona State, UNLV. These are all very popular. Washington State, Oregon State. I hear those all the time. Are all very popular schools of students, and probably even you have students in your house. That's where they want to go, but they're very, very, very costly. You do not give grants to out-of-state students, except that they have super high GPAs. Remember, we're talking about why a 3.0 to 3.3 shouldn't. By the way, University of Arizona, which is selective, may go ahead and admit you, but it's $61,000 a year to go there. So, a lot of people come from California. They take the debt and they do whatever they need to, and they get their students in that school. So the idea of all this is that they're applying to all these schools complex admissions requirements with very little chance of success. So you're doing all that work, and at the end of the day, the chance of success is very low. And I don't mean to, take the air out of it and, you can't do it. You can still apply. I mean, you'll always wonder, go ahead and apply. But I think you ought to have a balanced college list that has schools that are highly admissible, which is the importance of having a college readiness conference with me or someone else who knows the college admission process. And listen to this, everyone, that is not always your counselor at school. They're very, very ill-equipped to handle affordability lists. Maybe you go to them first and let me look at your list after that. I really want to be involved in that. We have 20 years of data, including the recent data, on how much you're going to pay for college. We've done presentations on that already. If you want to see our earlier videos, maybe I'll have ask Billy to send the earlier videos to you. We've discussed cost of college in the first two meetings. I'll come back to it, of course. I always get back to that. Okay, more on that. Unless the GPA is 3.85 plus unweighted SAT 1300, popular and known four-year selective private college is not affordable. Okay, it's just not affordable. It's going to be $80,000 to $300,000 for 4 years. Now, of course, if you have super high grades, some of them will reward you for it. There's others that won't, by the way. There are other selective schools. Everybody's going to pay a certain minimum to go there, unless they PO. And PO means the word poor without the OR. PO. Well, that's true. That's the way it is. Admissions is possible with a reduced GPA and a high SAT. But what about affording it? You want to be able to afford the school. Admissibility and affordability are two entirely different issues. But looking at that bullet before, reminds me of that line in The Dark Knight, which is the Batman movie, which Joker said, he's like a dog chasing after a car. If he catches the car, he doesn't know what he's going to do with it. And that's what happens if you catch a Stanford or USC and get in, but then it's going to cost you 60 or 50 or, Lord help you, 70,000 a year. Have you gotten something you can't afford anyway? So admissibility and affordability are two different issues. Students should get the school they earn and want. That's important. Not just the school they want. This is the first adult lesson that your student will get. Like the song, you can't have everything you want. You just can't in life. And we protected them from it, or they haven't learned it. They sure gonna learn it in the college process. All right, you've seen this before, I believe. Let me get this off here. Sorry. Go ahead and let Davin in, somebody. She probably got dropped. I'll get her in here. Okay. So I've showed this before, I believe. Let's get back to it. There'll be a grade self-report for UC. Selected private college does not have a grade self-report. Then there'll be an essay for UC and the application is delivered. Simple as that. Grade self-report, essays, it's 4 of them, called PIQs, application delivery. Selected private college looks pretty good. Essay app delivery, but you're gonna see there's more to it. There's gonna be teacher recommendations and SAT for private colleges. The UC and CSU do not in any way require the SAT scores for delivery. However, many private schools do, and many of them are bringing back the SAT. That's why I have it up here, right up here. See, right up there. I have a dash box in SAT for that reason. You know, I could say ACT as well. It just turns out there's not as many resources for ACT prep in California or Northern California, because this state is an SAT state, because we don't require the ACT for high school proficiency exam like other states. Okay. So the UC and Common App essay startup support is what we do. We also support transcript delivery, upper right corner, and the SAT prep, upper left corner, that we support. So the UC is in the red, self-report, essays, delivery. The black are selective private colleges. There's a lot more processes to do on a selective private college, where that is a private college that's on the Common App, typically. Okay. And there's the grade self-report. Will help students put the grades in correct and review them if we're supporting that student. And again, you know, it's a good time as any with this view graph up to say to you, part of it is you as a parent deciding how you're going to use our program. Are we going to perform all the services, some services, not others? And if we're not doing them, who is? You might say, well, the counselor is going to do it at the school. Man, have a discussion with that counselor. They are so busy. They might help a student, but then they can't follow up and make sure it's done right because they have so many cases. You might say, well, they'll do it in there. What's that class called? AVID. But I found out that AVID class is extremely biased to UC and CSU. They don't have a lot to say about Common App. Maybe you have a relative that's going to help them. I don't know. Just ensure the relative knows all these processes in the black and the red and really understands how to deliver. So basically what I'm saying here is start thinking about how we fit in or if we fit in. Maybe just going to come to the meetings. We have pretty informative meetings. I've had people do that and they're able to get through the process. Okay. But you know your situation, you know your youth. We could have a college readiness conference. I can make a proposal. And like they said in the Godfather movie, make an offer you can't refuse. Well, I don't mean it the way they meant it, but actually, I think they're right behind me in this picture here, but whatever. Common application process. Here's a good summary here. I just presented it all here. You can go through it. Now more than 1,000 colleges this year will accept the Common App. There's still a lot that don't now, right? UC and CSU applications have their own separate process. The most popular HBCUs now accept the Common App. A few notable schools do not accept it. Biola, Brown, Georgetown, they don't accept it. There's others too. I just thought of those 3 today. Set up the account at www.commonapp.org. 90% of work on the Common App is the essay. Same with UC. Most of the work is the essay. I never had anybody not be able to submit because they couldn't do the application. It's not that hard. It really isn't. Students are only required to pick 1 out of 6 of the essays. Many require additional supplemental essays and short answers. And the Common App delivery, I think we're coming up to you, Brianna, very shortly here. Isn't that right? I bet we are.
Yes, that's correct. I think there's a few more slides.
Really? I might just break
Yes.
the news here. Anyway. So anyway, you have a college list. UC and Common App essay development. You can open up the Common App and essay account. There's supplemental essays. There's a common application fields are filled in. Teacher and counselor recommendations. And you have, listen closely, you have one of three delivery processes. Early decision means you're committed to the school if you're admitted. You can't go anywhere else. I highly recommend you not do that approach. I only mention it because some of you will use QuestBridge, which is an early decision program, or the Posse, which turns out to be early decision program. You have to go wherever they say you go once you sign up. Early action.
Deacon Wilson?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, can I chime in right there on QuestBridge?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's something that we've looked at and actually applied through QuestBridge. And as you know, they have highly selected schools that will that you can apply to them through QuestBridge. And QuestBridge is set up for lower income students. You know, they have to have, you know, good grades, of course.
Super
They,
grades.
super grades. And if the reason I bring it up because you brought it up, I just want to share this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had my granddaughter apply through QuestBridge, and several of the colleges responded to her and said that we see that you've applied through QuestBridge, and we just want you to let you know that we are a QuestBridge partner school. And then out of that, two of the schools actually want to interview her, which is interesting. I didn't even know that that was a tie into QuestBridge. But for those highly GPA students, lower income, I certainly recommend checking out QuestBridge. They even have virtual sessions that walks you through and tells you a little bit more about it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. And I would say high, it's 3.8 or above.
Can I add something to that too?
Sure, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Yeah, last year I actually helped out a student through like pro bono work, like volunteer work. She did QuestBridge and she got into Harvard full ride. So, but she had a really high GPA.
Was she a minority student?
Yes, she lived in South Dakota also. So she was African-American female, lived in South Dakota. But I helped her get into Harvard and she did QuestBridge, got full ride. Now she's over there.
And we, my daughter has a friend who has a daughter who went through QuestBridge and got into Columbia. Same situation. Thank you so much for sharing that. But it's something to certainly check out if you have a high GPA. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
And did they pay for the dorm?
That's a good question.
I know. That's why I asked.
I still keep in touch with her, so I will follow up to ask.
Now, let me
But I do know that I know that she was, she really needed the assistance, and so I think they did, but I can double check. I'll let you know though on the side.
I don't want to get down in the weeds too much here, parents. But if you're a middle class family student has super high grades, and they go QuestBridge, I'm pretty sure they get the tuition free. So let's just throw that out there. Tuition's free. But now with inflation, the room and board is about $20,000 a year. So the problem is if you're early decision with QuestBridge, you have to go. Whereas
but QuestBridge is not required early decision. That's the thing, is that if you apply through QuestBridge, you it's not early decision where you're committed to a school. And the reason I can say that with confidence is because my granddaughter got several emails from partner schools like Santa Clara University, Cornell, et cetera, saying that, you know, when you're ready to apply, blah, blah, blah. So the thing with these high, like Princeton and Harvard, as you guys know, and Stanford, if your income is under 60, I think it's 66,000 if you're a single parent,
yeah,
or 125 if you're
class though, but go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say it's a full ride, including, I'm getting to the point of room and board. It's a full ride.
But you can get that without QuestBridge.
Yeah, no, totally. It's just that that's another another avenue of application. You're absolutely right, Mr. Wilson, Deacon Wilson. It's just one of several application pathways. I just want to bring that up because they're looking to help lower income families.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. I agree they do that. And by the way, on a lower income family, Brianna, they probably get the dorm free no matter what.
Yeah, I
So
remember
is
there
that
she had a lot of
Westbridge? It's, I would ask for that middle class. Middle class for me is 100,000 or above.
most like, yeah, I will say
Yeah,
with the young lady.
that's right, exactly. And that's I can refer to Stanford, I believe either Brown or Columbia. If it's a two-family household, if the income is 125 or less, then it's a full ride. The whole
Did you
thing.
say Brown too? Great. Okay.
Brown, yes,
So
sir.
Brown and
Brown,
Stanford are interesting schools because they're not need blind. So they make their admission decision knowing what your need basis is, and they have a certain cap on how many get that full program.
I was going to say with the young lady I was helping,
Yeah.
I believe her family was making under like 40K or something.
Oh, there you
and
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So that
think
was definitely a
Westbridge,
blessing for her.
sure. If you have what I call a very blessed student who, I used to say it differently. I can't remember how I said it, who has low income and super high grades. I've been doing this 25 years. I've only seen it about 3 or 4 times a year. It's very unusual because usually the things that cause the high grades make the income of the house a little bit higher. But often, like I know if this is who I think Rex is talking about, I would not be shocked that the grades were high because I've experienced the young lady.
oh yeah, the grades are high.
There
Yeah.
you go. And I
The
know
grades are certainly high.
Brianna's going to tell me that young lady's grades were higher.
Yes, they were really high, and she only wanted to apply to Ivy Leagues. And I was telling her, I was like, you might want to have a more like diverse list of schools. But she proved me wrong. She got in, and so I was like, okay, like you believed in yourself,
You
and I
still gave her
really
the right
applaud her.
advice. You still gave the right
Yeah,
advice.
other people told me that too, but
Well, no, you
I
gave her the right
really
advice. Look what's going on right now. She's
right.
a QBS. She's a
Mhm.
qualified Black student for Harvard
Yeah.
in a year where they've been told by the federal government, they better be qualified.
Mhm.
So they're
Yeah,
going to
no,
grab her.
right. I'll continue to, but what I really loved is the fact that she believed in herself so much. I thought that was really great,
Yeah,
especially at that young
let
age.
me finish up here. So early action delivery, you have this thing called restrictive early action. Okay, now I'm gonna try to do this. Basically, don't do it. Oh boy, because if you apply restrictive early action, let's say it's not Questbridge. Everybody here, it's not Questbridge. Just restrictive early action. You are restricted if you're admitted by the school. You cannot go to any other selective private colleges that have restrictive early action. Most of them do now. So just keep in mind, and if you're a super high student with super high grades, this just in, you're going to get money. The question is, how much money and which schools? So there is a thing floating around called restrictive early action, and it's super early, sometimes as early as October 15th. It's kind of a hybrid between early decision and early action. And early action, as you probably suspect, is, oh, I don't have it on there. I have both of them. Early action's up here too, sorry. Up this bullet up above here. So restricted early action is not binding. Restrictive early action is somewhat binding. Somewhat, right? You can still go to UC or CSU or a school that's not restrictive early action that's private. I had a student last year that got into restrictive early action to Stanford, but got a full scholarship to APU and chose to go to APU. They were not breaking their agreement because APU did not have restrictive early action. Regular decision is just regular decision, okay? So all those come out of the common application process. Be careful about applying to too many colleges. I see it all the time. I saw students last year, again, coming out of the pandemic, I've seen it more times than I've ever seen it. It's quite common now. I had a student that had 30 colleges last year, 28. You can only go to one. That person regretted it as soon as they started getting letters from the schools requesting information. That's when it comes up initially. Just don't do too many. You might wonder how many. I think 8 to 10 private colleges is enough. I think if you're careful how you do your list, it's enough. Work with somebody who knows the schools. You get some that are affordable. Remember, it's not counting your UCs, your CSUs, and in some cases, your out-of-state public universities that are selective. And then you have UC application delivery that can be done as well. All right, here we are, Brianna. I knew it was right here.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So I will be discussing tips on completing your college
Just
essay
tell me when to click,
responses.
right? Go ahead.
Sure, next slide, please. So just some background. So I've helped out several students over the past couple of years with their college essay responses through the program. So these
Thank
are just
God.
some tips that I have.
Thank
So we'll
God.
see what this summer we'll see what this summer brings. So the first thing is that you want to ask the students want to ask themselves, do they fully answer the prompt? So students should be reading the prompt aloud before starting the response. This helps them to hear what basically what the questions are asking and to figure out like what the best way to respond to that question is. Another thing is that they should check out the UC Personal Insight Questions YouTube video and read things to consider on the UC Personal Insight Questions page. This is really helpful because it gives you an idea of what the admissions people at the UC schools are looking for. So just want to look at the video and read this page because it will definitely be helpful to you. They should also check out other resources for essay prompts, and I'll go over this a little bit more in the Common App part, just to give a better idea of like examples of the essay responses. They should also know the word count. So for the personal insight questions, no more than 350 words. For the Common App, it should be between 250 to 650 words. Another thing they'll want to make sure is they'll want to see like, is it in their authentic voice? Admissions people, they can tell like when a guardian or a parent or a counselor is writing those responses.
Or
so
AI,
or AI. They are being authentic. Or AI, yes, thank you, because that's a news source now. AI is also a source
Checking for that
as well.
too.
And yes, and they can kind of, I was recently at a conference and they can see, and they were talking about this with AI, they can see like when AI is involved because it just doesn't flow as well. It just doesn't sound authentic. So they want to make sure that they're really using that voice. Also, they should try to make sure they're not emulating other people's voices. They shouldn't look to see like, well, what are the missions individuals looking for and trying to formulate their response to just thinking about like what exactly they want to hear or how they want them to state it. They should be thinking like how they want to communicate that to those readers. They shouldn't write just to impress the readers. They should just, again, people can see the authenticity when they're reading through those responses. Another thing is you want to make sure that there's structure to the response. We've gotten a lot of responses back that's like a big block paragraph and it doesn't have any type of, it's not formatted correctly at all. They're not looking for like a whole college essay. They're not looking for that, but you just want to make sure that when they're writing it, that you can actually follow along and understand what is being said. Also, they want to make sure that they have shorter sentences instead of a lot of longer run-on sentences, because then that'll make sure that it's more concise as they're reading. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Also want to make sure, does it flow? Does the response flow? So they should make sure that the paragraphs have transition sentences that allow the responses to flow. Just making sure that, reading through it, does it sound like it's an actual response that goes together instead of two separate responses? Another thing, and that goes into my second point, making sure that's cohesive too. That's where reading the responses out loud come in handy, because as they read the responses out loud, they'll see like, does it make sense? Another thing is they want to make sure that it's grammatically sound. They should make sure that the grammar and punctuation are the best of their ability before submitting it to review. They shouldn't just send us just anything. They should make sure they're doing that first pass review and then giving it to us to see after that. Again, this goes back to they should read the responses aloud to make sure it makes sense. Next slide, please. And this kind of goes into what Deacon Wilson was saying earlier, like what stops students from completing their responses in a timely manner. First thing is too many commitments and scheduled to complete essay responses. As we were saying earlier, you know, we understand summertime is busy, that you might have a lot of extracurricular activities on the weekend, but just making sure that they find the time to actually do their essay responses. I know I'm a former student leader. I understand like your schedule can get really busy, but they should be making sure that they find, even if it's an hour a day, to work on those essays. That will be very helpful. Also, we've seen work schedules get in the way too. So they need to figure out like how they can put us into their schedule so that way they can still work their work schedule, but still have time to complete their essays and review it with. So students don't always respond back to correspondence from us, which can delay the essay process. By not responding us in timely fashion, it delays everything. And I would like to get the essays reviewed about that. Another thing is the lack of following up with West Angeles EEP. So students don't often follow up with us with questions about the essay prompts. Next slide. Is my internet okay? Because it said it was
Yeah, it's jumping.
unstable, so hopefully it's okay.
Keep going.
Okay, sorry about that. How can I dedicate time to complete essay responses around other commitments? So, like I said, dedicate in another setting outside the home, such as the coffee shop, library, or park. Another thing is respond back to us in timely fashion. So accept the calendar invitation so students know when the meetings are and can be prepared, and respond back to emails from us if there's like any requests of essays so that way they can be reviewed. And then also remembering that the college application process is leading to the next chapter in life. So in order to get into many colleges, students need to make sure they have the time to dedicate to work on their college applications, especially their essays. And it's a trial run into how students will need to balance their work and personal obligations in the college courses.
Amen.
So, you know, by learning how to balance, you know, like doing their college applications and their essays, it's just showing them like what the work environment is going to be like later in life. So they just got to figure out how to prioritize things. Next slide. And then these are just about the Common applications. Want to go a little deeper into that. So here's some information about the Common application essay. So the Common application, as Deacon Wilson had mentioned a little bit before, allows students to apply to many universities at once using one application. So there's 7 responses this year for students that they can choose from. And they only have to choose one response with the Common App. And they should reference guidance from the Common App Ready, which is actually like a website, how to approach the essay resource. So if they go to the Common Application website, there is like a resource about the essay, which is really helpful. Next slide, please. And then these are just the different prompts. I'm not going to go into too many details, but basically they're, like I said, there's 7 of them. The first one just looks at like the background, identity, and interests that they might have. The second one goes into obstacles. The third one reflects on a time, like a challenge, a belief, or an idea. Next slide, please. The fourth one looks at like reflecting on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful. The fifth one looks at an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparks like an interest. The sixth one looks at a topic, idea, or concept that they find engaging. And then the last one is just a topic of choice. I think the last one can be kind of tricky because that one is just so open-ended. And so some students have asked in the past about like what they should do to write that one. I would try to advise not to write that one because it's so open-ended, but it's just something, I mean, if they do have another essay that they want to do, they can think about that. But yeah, so that's basically the Common application essay prompts.
That's
so, and then I think that's it. Yeah,
very
thank you.
good. The only thing I want to say about that is amen. Just that's all I'm gonna say. And you know, I feel so bad when they can't get the one essay done in 2 or 3 months because they're busy. And then we get to the supplementals,
Right.
and then we end up dropping schools from the list, right?
Yeah, just because they get so busy.
Yeah, get so busy. All right. All right.
Yeah, can I just say thank you so much? This was really, really, really good. And all last year and this year, and wherever I talk to a senior that is accepted and going into school next fall, I always ask if they could go back and give advice to rising seniors, you know, juniors that are going into, and they always say to a person, everyone, they wish they had worked on their essays earlier, to a person. So thank you for that. That's great information.
Yeah, no
Yeah, I've
problem.
seen-
Yeah, and I was gonna say really quickly, yeah, like we said, it takes a long time to write the essay, so they can get those done before the school year starts, and they already know the prompts. That's ideal. So that way, that's one thing they can get out the way.
Then again, the Harper and I promise I won't mention it again, parents, but yeah, I love you all so much. Take a look at those schedules. And do they really have to do all the things on that schedule? You might say, well, that's what they want to do. Just let them know that it's going to affect the quality of their college list. And because they're going to have a lot of work to do. And of course, the other thing I'll go ahead and say, and I think I say it later. I'll deal with it later. But let's see, how do we help the CSU application? It's just a grade self-report application delivery. We'll help with the self-report. We do not think the self-report is user-friendly because it isn't. So we do it for the student, deliver for the student. In some cases, we have community-based fee waivers from CSU. The applicant student then sends a data form to us, gets the process started. We do that, and then we follow up with the student on how to make their portals and follow up on the application. That's how we help with CSUs. Support costs is around 55. If there's some need basis, we don't charge. We'll help determine that. And if there's any kind of Pell Grant we think that will come out of it, we don't charge for that service. What does it take to get into CSU? Those are the minimum requirements, but that's not going to help with 2.5 isn't going to help you with the most selective CSUs. In fact, there are 2 CSUs that are more selective. Oops, there were 3 this year that are more selective than UC Berkeley and UCLA. CSU Long Beach, CSU Poly San Luis Obispo, and San Diego State. Unless you live in the area of those schools, are prohibitively difficult to get into. You have to have very high grades. But that 2.5 will get you into a CSU. In fact, more than ever before now, since enrollment to CSU is way down. And I suspect because of the reasons for it being down will not go away for 2 or 3 years. If you're wondering about GPA, look at the 5th bullet on the transcripts. It's one of the following: academic GPA, university GPA, UC-CSU GPA, or weighted GPA. If I could give homework from this session, parents, this is one of the 2 homework assignments that I would give you. Please order the transcript, see what their university GPA is, see what their regular GPA is. There'll be 2 different numbers. Typically, the regular GPA is lower than the university GPA. On the application, you're going to talk about any classes that are in progress or are planned. Okay? Here are the classes required. You know them to get into college. You know the program: math, English, lab science, etc. Many call these the A through G requirements. I just did it on the page before. I call these requirements to go to college. I do like 1 year of quantitative reasoning or data science after they've had Algebra 2. Make sure these listen closely. I hope these counselors didn't let your student take data science instead of taking Algebra 2. I have more to say about that in a video again real soon. I got that question the other day. You need to take Algebra 2. UC and CSU will not accept students who do not have a C or above in Algebra 2. Oh, UC won't take it if it's not B or above anyway. In Algebra 2. All right, that's all I want to say about those. Those are requirements for CSU and UC admission. Why CSU? Well, they're accepted with reduced GPAs. The tuition is 11%, up to 11%, low as 11% of the cost of many private colleges. You all know what I love to say. USC is going to be $77,000 tuition in the year upcoming, 95,000 to go. The question is, and CSU Long Beach, which is a high quality CSU, is about $6,600 or 1/10 the cost. Ask yourself, is USC 10 times better than CSU Long Beach? I'm willing to stipulate that it's better, but is it 10 times better? You'll have to be the judge of that, parents. Nothing out of pocket for local CSUs. If you go to CSU, you can just have a student direct loan. It's perfectly all right. You say, well, that's out of pocket. I get it. Okay. But no cash. You can make the student sling coffee and pay for college. They're more ethnically diverse, typically. Some of them not as diverse as others. They have more majors even than UC. More majors. Students many times say they want to stay close to home. I got that a lot this year. I'm getting that a lot more. Again, I think that's a consequence of the pandemic. There are many types and sizes of CSUs, large, small, medium, in the country, in the suburbs, in the city. Those are some reasons why people choose CSU. And I think this year about 70% of my students will go to CSU. It's been going up every year. A lot of that's due to the cost of college going up so fast, especially the jump from last year to this year because of inflation. You're going to see another jump next year.
Deacon Wilson, may I chime in right here?
Sure.
This is a perfect time. I just wanted to share with everyone on the Zoom. San Francisco Chronicle did an in-depth study on what return on investment. And what they did, they took a look at all the UC schools and they compared the CSU schools, and they came up with three California state schools that had a better or equivalent return on investment compared to Berkeley, Stanford, and UCLA. And that was California State, San Jose State, yep. Long Beach, and Cal Poly.
Yeah, those are good ones to pick.
Yeah, those three, the Chronicle, when they did their in-depth analysis on return on investment, in other words, a student enters San Jose State or Poly or Long Beach compared to a same student entering Stanford or UC Berkeley, that the return on investment of the 4 years was just as rich, if you will. And it was very encouraging to read that article because, again, people think they have to go to Berkeley, and the article was saying, no, you get just as much bang for the buck in employment and opportunity and what have you. Your future is not compromised by going to a UC school. And they named those three in the comparison article.
Yeah, good point, Rex. I think I saw that article. This is something UC is internally facing right now. They're aware of that. But remember, be fair to USC, being fair to UC for a moment. They're research schools, that's their argument, but they got to pay attention to that. That's something they got to pay attention to. All right, okay, let's continue on. That's a good point. Application timelines, there they are, October 1st to 20th. No essay, no recommendation with CSU. So if you have a counselor that's telling you every year it happens, that they have essays with CSU, you just met an amateur. No essay, no recommendation, grades are self-reported. Transcripts are not required. You use the transcript to do the application, but it's not required unless specifically requested. SAT, I gotta get that bullet out of there, Quinn. The SAT is not required by CSU or UC. They claim to use it for placement, but I can't prove that. Common reasons for non-admission to CSU. This is what it is all the time. CSUs on the list are all impacted. They have all these selective CSUs out of area and they have a low GPA. So of course you go to two-year college, which isn't the end of the world, but you can't have Poly, San Luis Obispo, San Jose State, and San Diego State on your list if you're 3.0 or 2.9. Improper major versus CSU. Student does not regularly read emails. This is an issue. It came up comes up with essays too. We're doing essays. I know you not used to looking at email, students, but this is a great time, this application process, to get used to having good business emails and not just, I'll just keep it real. Well, I won't keep it too real. Some weird email address. You should have a professional email address that you read once a day, that you read regularly. All right, let's continue. I don't want to beat that to death. Student does not set up their portals right. But if we're handling the student, we're going to set up the portals or make sure the portals are set up. We're going to remind the student to read their email and set those information portals up. And CSU only uses email and the portals. There's no more letters coming saying you're admitted. Although now I say that, there were 3 that did it this year. There was a reason for that. I'll get into another time. Grades are improperly self-reported on the application. There's mistakes on the application that could cause a student to not get into CSU. A to G requirements are not met or not properly replaced. Or in one case this year, the school didn't properly record the grades on the transcript and the student didn't get in, but I called on their behalf and they're now in and they're going. College enrollment in the financial aid award process. Notice it's the 25-26 FAFSA. Wow, time's marching on. The FAFSA they're going to deliver in the fall. You're going to deliver in the fall. It's the 25-26 FAFSA. There's a student section that will have to be filled out. This chart here now is compatible with the new FAFSA. There's going to be a parent section that has to be filled out that has the federal tax information, automatically gets loaded to it in the background. The financial aid award will come out. Now they could have a CSS profile required. There's some schools require an additional financial aid document and process known as the CSS profile. It uploads the tax returns on its own. You'll have to load them there for yourself. It's a third-party organization that reviews them because the school is illegal for a school to get a financial aid form directly now. Then there's a financial aid award. And yes, there's non-custodial parent information required now in 70% of all Common App schools, meaning that the separated parent income information is required. And I think that does influence the list for college. If you know you're not going to get the financial aid information from another parent, you might as well not have schools on the list that require it. There are lots of good schools that don't require it though. Okay, so 640 of the 800. Yeah, I said that right. Other FAFSA facts to consider. We're almost done. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. The FAFSA for 25-26, listen to this, is based on 2023 income. So that return you just filed is determining what the adjusted gross income for the FAFSA will be, that it'll see automatically and be loaded in the FAFSA. The first date for filing, we think, will go back to October 1st. But what do we know? Last year, they delayed it to January, near January 10th, but that's because it was new. So maybe we'll get back to October 1st. That's right. The FAFSA for their freshman year will be delivered this fall, October 1st. It's available for delivery. It's official. Brianna did get kicked out. Okay. We recommend that the FAFSA be delivered 1st to the 31st. That's not the due date for the colleges, parents. The due dates for colleges will still be January, February, March, those type of dates. But listen closely, colleges no longer require the tax return. They can. If you make less than $55,000, they may require a federal tax transcript. But colleges are trying not to ask for that. They're trying to make it automatically loaded when you're doing your FAFSA. So if you have your financial aid, your tax return filed, it will automatically be done in the FAFSA process in your section of the FAFSA in the background. You won't actually be able to see it. Some selected private colleges require a CS profile. We talked about that. May require information on the other parent. That's something you want to consider if you're a single parent. More, FAFSA is not user-friendly. If you've never done it before, you probably will make a mistake, but it won't be major. Usually it's not critical. Sometimes it is. Here's what you will need to file the FAFSA. Username and password for youth and parent. I'll talk about that in a minute. Federal tax return is used not for the FAFSA, but for you to fill in the fields if it asks you. If you're filing your youth FAFSA yourself, Go to the following document to get help. Mistakes on the FOFSA also happen in the follow-up phase when they send you letters and you answer it without getting help. Hey, we're here to help you. You now know me, so you should be able to come to me with any questions you have. When we're providing information, it's a community service. We don't charge for that. It's totally free. Please, no youth should file their own FOFSA. Do not delegate it to your student because you're the one paying for college, parents. Don't delegate to them. You do it for them. Or have me do it or have someone do it. Do not have a commercial service. Some of them charge $1,000. I saw mine, $900. I saw one for $1,200. We'll do it for a donation of 40 or 50 bucks. Most people don't end up paying it for ours. We end up letting them do it for free because of the income. Other FOFSA considerations. Order your FOFSA username and password today. That's where you go to do it. Remember, if you have the document itself, you can control click on it or just paste it in. You go right to it. Remember, youth and parents each need a FOFSA username and password. Important thing is you need to test it first. We can help you with that. Let me know. When you're creating your password, here's some good information. Have that page ready. That's how we're telling you how to do your username, how to do your password, that your name should appear as it is on the Social Security card. And for some of you, that's a totally different name than people know you by. Every year I have that situation come up. I can't figure out why it won't work. Now this year it's critical. If you can't get that right and you think it's right, you can't deliver the new FOFSA. It will not let it be delivered. Used to be it would let it be delivered, you could correct it later, but it's not true at all. Watch out for hyphenated last names, parents. Watch out for your maiden name and not the marriage name. That's always things that come up when we're setting up a username and password. Yes, we do FOFSAs. You can email us, let us know, and we'll put you in line to get a data sheet when the time comes. We won't get it to you till August, but we will July. We'll get it to you for sure. Just let us know. There's a donation for doing the filing. We'll file the 1st to the 20th on the first 40 forms. Most college deadlines, however, are well after October 1st. There's a few that are December, but most of them are in February and March, the deadlines. So you're delivering your FOFSA months before the deadline. It creates a great margin to reduce errors and to correct problems before they come up. Here's what you should be doing now. College readiness meeting. I'll be glad to meet with you. Some of you are already met with. If I've already met with you, I decided this year to not send any proposals out till school is over. So I found out if I send it out before, nothing really happens till school is over anyway. So now that school's getting over, I'm sending them out now. We'll be glad to schedule your student to get help during the summer. We'll organize the FOFSA. You'll order the user, show you how to order the username and password. Got the essays to get ready for. Again, in the red, determine how we're going to help. Exactly where do we fit into the process? We call those customized application support agreements. We'll be glad to have that with you at just a sliver of the cost that you would pay for a consultant. Again, if we don't do it, that's fine. Who will? Sometimes parents do it. Sometimes relatives do it. Sometimes counselors do it at school. But remember, counselors don't really follow up. So you need somebody that's going to follow up and make sure things get done. That's how you contact all of us. Christina's not here today, but Quinn and Bailey are. You can contact them directly. And if you're working with Rihanna on essays, you'll be able to contact her as well. All right, I'll see if there's any questions now. I'll be glad to take those. Let me do this.